All right, welcome to the Barbershop Breakdown. It's your man Roscoe Squeeze Off with your boy
Rich Blackman.
And we got our special guest who we trying to get her to be permanent, but our special guest, Miss D, is with us today. How you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Awesome.
Today we got a great show today. The show is going to be, what is the point or the purpose of getting married in today's society? Basically, a lot of people live together, as they called it back in the day, living in sin, and you don't actually have to get married. Some people never get married. So once again, since we have our special guest here, let's start off with you, Miss D. What do you think about what's the point of getting married?
I don't see it as really necessary these days. I mean, for me, the main reasoning at this point would be like if I need insurance or, for the sake of better credit to buy a home, something like that. Like if it serves a purpose, but not necessarily to validate the relationship. I wouldn't need that.
I like that. Not to validate the relationship. What you thinking, Rich?
Man, that was too funny. Insurance, but to a certain extent, I agree. I think that nowadays that the way that society is kind of set up now with so many divorces happening, and it's just so easy to get divorced and things of that. I think that people are just shacking up, I guess, for lack of better words, and just living their life as a couple that way, because I think it's just easier. It's just one of those things where it just works out. I think that once you get married, I think it actually, I feel like once you get married, that piece of paper changes a lot of things, whether people know it or not, or really, I don't know what it is about that paper, that legal document, but it does seem to change things in relationships. And I think that a lot of people nowadays fear that. They may look at other friends of theirs that are married, or, uncles, aunts, even parents, look at the way the relationship is and say, hey, you know what? This marriage thing is not for me.
Well, I just want to go back to where marriage probably came from. It came from a lot of religious aspects, I believe. And now I think it's crossed over to more civil, because a lot of people are not as religious as they once were. I mean, probably worldwide. And civilly, it makes it hard if you decide you want to part. Now, I think back in the day, people didn't really part. They just stayed together. They lived in different rooms. They just stayed together no matter what, because on a religious aspect, they didn't want to look like they failed. And I think people don't care about that stuff nowadays. So you kind of don't have to get married. I think getting married is like, they say, you got to put a ring on it. Does that kind of make them yours in a way? Like, that's my person because we're married. When you're not married, people don't necessarily respect your union as much. What do you think, Ms. D?
That is one of the things I don't like about the institution of marriage, the feeling of like you're somehow owned, or, you own each other, or because that's just not the case,
Well, legally, wouldn't that be the case? Legally, no. You guys are tied, not owned, but tied to one another legally at that point.
And for a nominal fee and then some paperwork, you can no longer be tied together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just don't see the point. Like, Rich was saying that with divorce rates so high, why do people still jump out here to get married so quickly when they're just gonna, most likely, a lot of them are gonna end in divorce or a lot of turmoil? I see a lot of marriages these days where nobody's happy. Everybody seems miserable, and I just can't understand why are you there? Why are you putting yourselves through that? It makes no sense to me.
Well, I think also too it has a lot to do with the Bible. To go back to the point of ownership, back in the biblical days, that's exactly what it was. It was ownership, and that's just the way it was. That's how it was back then, and over time, it turned into the whole thing of where society started to say, this is the right thing to do. This is what you're supposed to do as a upstanding citizen. Pay your taxes, get married. I know there was a thing where if the president of the United States you couldn't be the president of the United States without being married. Am I correct?
I believe so. At one point in time, yes.
Yeah,
but
so
I don't even know if would they even vote for somebody right now who was not married?
I don't believe so, because how are you going to push family values if you don't have a family? Right. And I think I think nowadays too, even so, a lot of places, society, I'm not going to say a lot of places, society pushes it to where they don't want to do, if you have a boyfriend and girlfriend, they don't want to put you guys together on a loan, because it doesn't show a certain amount of commitment.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, that's how they look at it now. But a lot of people are like, you know what? Screw that. I know people that have been together for 20, 30 years as a couple, boyfriend and girlfriend, and not gotten married because of the fact that they say, hey, what's the difference other than, if your credit's good enough, banks are not going to really mess with you too much on the whole thing of you guys are not committed. I mean, you've been together for 30 years, had the same address for the last 30 years. They're going to approve you on certain things. But a lot of people are just like, you know what? For the most part, screw that, because getting divorced is it's easy to do, but it's one of the most difficult things to do. If that
be very tense and very standoffish. It could be a war.
And people don't want that. People don't want that.
Well, I got a question for you two then. Maybe you guys know this. I'm trying to think. If you can buy a home together, let's say a home, because I've been through a divorce a time before, and you got to separate property and things of that nature. If you have a home together by two individuals, who gets what?
I mean, I feel like you would, as two grown adults, you would, sit down and decide. If need be, you sell it, you split the money.
As I think about it now, you're probably right. It's the same as if you're married. I mean, the judge makes a ruling. Worst come to worst. But there's no judge to make a ruling if you're not married, right?
But you know what? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, in all honesty, it seems to me that it will be a lot easier if you have a boyfriend and girlfriend, you're splitting property, because it doesn't seem like there's so much animosity there versus in a marriage where there's hate and animosity.
Well, what's the difference? The only difference is paperwork.
The court's involved. There's something about that court and that judge and that setting, I think, just puts so much fire under the situation. I really feel that way. When I was married before and got divorced, I was willing to pretty much give up everything that I had, because my ex-wife had she had the kids, and I just looked at it as if, hey, you know what? I just made one. True story. I pretty much just wanted my TVs, my personal property. As every man should want. You can get another man in here. He can be in the house, sitting on your couch, or sitting on my couch, but he's not going to be watching my TV. That's where I draw the line. Or driving my car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right.
I think a lot of men feel that way. You don't have the right to do that. So I left the house, the car that she drove, I left there, and my thing was this: I just want my automobiles, my TVs, and my personal property. And we still had a long, drawn out fight because of that. And I mean, it was to a point where the judge was like, ma'am, in all actuality, you're fighting him on television sets. He gave you everything else. It was something about that court setting that just makes people have so much animosity. And something about the whole divorce thing, you know, it's not like a regular split up. It's divorce. It's, you know, it's that real that people get ugly.
It's not, I'm just going to take my shit and leave.
Mm-hmm.
It's, we're going through the whole legal process now. Now, quick question. I think one of the biggest factors to it, in my opinion, where I kind of side with you guys a little bit. I mean, I always loved the institution of marriage because I'm from island descent, and my family, you know, we're all very religious, and everybody's married. I got a large family, all aunts, uncles. My own parents were married for 45, 46 years, something like that. And my grandparents were married 65 years before my grandmother passed away. And it's just like everybody got married. And they all seem genuinely okay with it. Like, that's just, they're going to be together for life. My only issue is that when you got married, even back in the slavery days and all that, people would jump the broom to have a ceremony to say they were married. And I think that's because that took that person off the market. You know, it wasn't for insurance purposes back then, but it took that person off the market, and it showed like a bond and a union. And people respected that. You know, somebody saw a ring on your finger or knew you were married, they just left you alone. You couldn't even, it's hard to cheat if somebody found out. You had to lie to people, take your ring off and didn't let them know. I think in this day and age where the side piece, side whatever, side chick, you know, is just so acceptable in this culture now that ring means absolutely nothing as far as taking somebody off the market.
Well, you know what? I agree. But also, too, the whole, when you look at it from that point, the side chick and the side dude's been around forever, you know? And
man.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to a lot of the songs, Shirley Murdoch, Phyllis Hyman, a lot of these women sung about being the other woman, you know? So it's always been acceptable in a sense and tolerated, you know? I just think that now it's just one of those things where a lot of people really get married out of some sort of convenience or show. It's not like it, you know, because I remember back in the day, a man could be married to a woman and have a whole nother family across town and have kids, and no matter what, his wife would not divorce him.
Right.
Now, you can come home late 4 times in a row and you in divorce court on television. So,
right. You know, that's real tough.
Yeah, I just think that it's just the values now, you know, and what's put into our head and programming too. I hate to get conspiracy theory, but as you always say, TV programming. As you look and you see all these commercials, divorce, need a divorce attorney, you need this, you need that, you need alimony, you know, all of these things. And I think it's just kind of, it's weakening the strength of the union of marriage.
Well, quick question for Ms. D here then.
Mm-hmm.
It was always an undertone that women wanted to be married. You know, Beyonce sung songs like Put a Ring On. And they always made it seem like the woman played with dolls when she was a baby and she practiced marriage and she wanted to be married. You don't think that's what women want nowadays? You being a woman?
A lot of them do. I'm a little different in that was never my goal because I grew up in the era of watching a lot of women and a lot of men in my family be dishonest in their marriages and, you know, play the game like they don't know, or they going back and forth and they arguing and fighting about it. So that wasn't my thing. But yes, a lot of women do still, and that's why we now have a phenomenon of women who have been proposing to men, because they do still want that whole show. They want the bragging rights to say, you know, I got the ring, I got the man, look at my wedding, look at the dress. Here's the, look at our honeymoon and all of that, in this age of everything's on social media, for mostly for women, it's all about a show. Being able to have the pictures and the video and being able to brag to your friends and family about, look at me, look what we did, look what I'm doing.
They value the act, but not the union.
Exactly.
Right. You hit the nail on the head. Well, I just thought of this just now. I don't know how true this is. I'm gonna liken it to sports. In sports, for many years, if a team drafted you, picked you up, you stayed with that team pretty much your whole career, unless that team decided to trade you. But somewhere along the line, I think it was in the 60s, there was a guy named Kurt Flood in baseball who decided to fight the system, and he didn't make out off the deal. But now, today, you have teams called free agents. They can move around. They can go from team to team. LeBron James can play for Cleveland, go to Miami, then go back to Cleveland. Now he's in L.A. And I think that's how society is going to be relationships soon. I think people are not going to be together forever. I mean, maybe not in the next 5 years, but over time, it's getting close to that now, where you be with someone until you're not happy, then you just move on. The second it's a little muddy water, I'm out of here. Free agents, people will be able to go wherever they want when they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, I think that someone actually came up with that. And they were talking about, this was a couple years ago. I remember seeing this on the news. A couple was trying to create some kind of system that was like that. It's kind of like a 5-year thing. You get married.
License every 5 years?
Every 5 years.
Yo, for some reason, you said that, I think that's not a bad idea. That's not, because if you're not in love, you don't even have to redo it. Y'all just separate, move on, keep it moving. The problem is, though, I think the legal ramifications of marriage is great, because when you're together with people, don't you acquire things? I mean, do you acquire things if you're, the people that have been in relationships for 20, 30 years? I think a lot of times that's one person buying a house in their name. That's one person, they each got a car in their own separate names. Things of that nature. Is that a thing we are buying everything together? Because if you're not getting married, aren't you always kind of keeping one foot out the door, like one foot to be able to leave if need be?
Absolutely. I really feel like that's where we are as a society right now. I mean, because there's a lot of couples, a whole lot of couples that do things differently as far as different bank accounts. They don't share bank accounts. There's a lot of couples that, one person owns a house and, they get married and the person just moves in and, the name is, there's still one owner. It's just the only thing that entitles the other person to the house is the fact that they're married, but they didn't acquire that together,
right.
And that's where a lot of things, because if you talk to, I think we actually did take a poll a while ago to say how many married couples, share bank accounts.
We did.
Couples don't. A lot of couples don't. They have their separate money, their separate accounts, their separate everything, and when it needs to come together, it comes together.
So, the next thing is, does the religious aspect have any effect on you, Ms. D? Is that something where you feel like, could you go to church for years and years as what they call living in sin? Is that even still a term anymore in the church?
No. No, it's not. The church has evolved over the years now. It's come along with the times, in my opinion.
You're right.
I've just been going to my mom's church recently, and it's so very different than when I was younger and went to that same exact church. they're just hip to, they're just moving along with what's happening in today's society, because technically, spirituality should not be, conditional. Do you know what I mean? If you are married, you can be a part of this religion, or if you are this, or if you're that. It's supposed to be open to all, and you come as you are, whether you're single, married, shacking up, got kids together or whatever. You should still be able to participate in learning about the Bible and, giving thanks to the Lord for, for your life, or for whatever it is, whatever purpose you have for going to church. They're realizing that they want to be inclusive for everyone.
So are a lot of us getting married because of our parents and our grandparents, for to make them happy in their eyes?
I think that's for the individual to answer.
But I mean, it used to be an undertone of, in movies per se, or shows or TV, like a mom kind of getting on her daughter because she's not married yet. You know what I'm saying? That was definitely an undertone at one time.
Yeah, I think that was real big in the 70s, the 60s, the 70s, maybe the 80s, because it just was the right thing to do in society. I think that I'm gonna go with Miss D. That a lot of women's dreams are that's their life. They plan that out that way, that they want to grow up, they want to have a husband and and kids and a house and all of this, and they feel as though these are the things that they need to do, and they set out to do this. But again, I still go back to the fact of they look at the wedding and the bliss of the whole, we're married, and I really look at it as, and I said this to you before, Roscoe, I feel like with women in marriage, it's almost kind of like fishing. They throw out the hook to catch the guy. They do whatever they have to do, whether it be cook, clean, or whatever it is that will attract that man that they're trying to attract. They get him, you get married, and that goes away, because now they have accomplished what they were doing as far as getting married.
The goal was to be married and not to have a lifetime of eternal happiness. It's just to get married.
But that's just my take.
That talk. Right? Yeah. No, we've had that talk before, and I do kind of agree. And even a guy sometimes, I believe, can feel that way. Hey, I got a woman, I have a kid, I provide for them, but not necessarily do the things it takes to make a marriage a happy marriage, because he feel like they did, we had to do as well. So, I think so. Are we saying here that marriage may be null and void? May be no need to have that. It may just be a thing where you do every 5 years, a relationship with someone, you move on, or if you may extend it for another 5 if it's working out well. Is that
personal gratification? Personal gratification. That's what I think. I really think it's just personal gratification. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a need for it anymore.
Well, what about, all right, and this is, we can probably end on this topic. Let's just factor in children. Not getting, at one point in time, marriage that was also another thing. You got married so that you all share one common last name for the most part. I got divorced, and I'm pretty sure that's the same with you, Rich. We both got divorced from our first wives, and they kept our last names because they wanted to have the same names that the children had. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing at one point in time. Miss D, women don't even care about that no more. I guess, if you give the kid your last name in the first place, if you want to.
Right, which is what I did. But I don't think that really matters much anymore.
Wow.
I'm gonna tell you like.
Go ahead. My bad.
I'm gonna tell you like Ike Turner said, "Oh, that's my daddy name. That got my daddy blood on it. Can't have my name."
Right.
She took
that name anyway.
Still rocking it, and she married over again,
and still kept it. Wow. Well, all right, so I guess we kind of come to an agreement that maybe marriage is not as important as it used to be. I just wonder if people will agree with us. We're going to throw it up on our page, and got a new Facebook group page as well, so we throw that information out there as well. It'll be at the beginning and the end of all our shows. Ms. D, any closing comments?
No, not at the moment.
Well, that's good. So you just straight out, no need for marriage, no need for it whatsoever.
Not for me personally, no.
Unless you need that insurance when you get a little older. Got you.
Right.
Made that clear. How about you, Mr. Rich? Any closing comments?
I could do with or without it. Don't matter to me. I'd rather be happy than legally bounded. So. Right.
Well, I kind of like the marriage idea because, like I said, I was raised all around it. But as someone who's been divorced and on the verge of divorce and on divorce, I can see where the benefits of not even doing it. It keeps both parties on their toes, I think, if you're not. Because it's just easy to walk away. So if it doesn't go right, hey, move it on, keep it moving. I'm here as long as I'm happy. When I'm not happy, I'm gone. I can see I can see the aspect of it, but I can also see the aspect of needing insurance. So,
and also, you like the whole 5-year deal, huh?
Exactly.
The system, and I know we have to go, but the system, it has to be revamped, man. I mean, because it's we have to get back to the basis. So for me to be convinced, we have to go back to the basics as far as
insurance goes. Insurance will always be with marriage because the insurance companies make a ton of money, and they're not going to cover people you just dated. They're going to cover, whether you're dating for a long time, they're going to cover people you're committed to. They're not going to let you get that lower rate, that lower government employee rate or big company rate that you get, for a big group plan. They're not going to let you get that unless you have a commitment there, a legal commitment. They're not, otherwise you're going to have to go through Obamacare or...
That's what I was going to say. Obamacare for everybody.
Cobra, or the newly one day Trump Care, which covers only people with a 6-figure income.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. Don't take that serious.
Or move to Canada.
Yeah, you can do that. Mm-hmm. You just gotta say A at the end of all your words. Man, that's a bad one.
Me and my girlfriend in Canada, we're gonna live a wonderful life.
I feel you. But listen, so marriage is down. Mobility, ability to leave your significant other is on the way up.
Mm-hmm.
No need to pay for the divorce lawyer. Divorce lawyers are going to define a new profession. Gotcha.
They got to ask for that.
Right. Listen, I'm pretty sure. Listen, they going to change. What happened to common law, real quick? What happened? Does that not exist anymore? Remember they used to always say common law marriage.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing, or that's something people just say? I mean, because I've always heard that term. And I know he used to hold up in court at one time. Can I say, hey, I've been with her for the last 8 years. I made payments on that Benz we got together that had an 8-year payment plan on it. I want us to sell it and split the profit. Or can they say, well, that's just in her name?
It does when it comes to death and property.
Got you. Just not insurance. Got you.
Right.
All right. Well, hey, it's been the Barbershop Breakdown once again. I'm your man, Roscoe Squeezeoff. We had the lovely Miss D. Thank you very much, Miss D.
Always a pleasure.
And of course, we always got our boy,
Rich Blackman.
Until next time.
Peace.
Bye.
As they say, the barbershop is the cornerstone of the community. We discuss everything under the sun while bringing you that barbershop-style convo in a podcast. is hosted by myself, Roscoe Squeezeoff, and my co-host, Rich Blackman. Please check us out on our Facebook page at the Barbershop Breakdown Show on Facebook. You can also join our private group from that very page. If you want to text us any of your comments or ideas, you can text us at 754-CALL-BBS, which is also 754-225-5227. We look forward to all your comments, all your ideas. If you have any topics or ideas you'd like to even be on our show, text us, communicate with us on Facebook. We can make it happen. This is the Barbershop Breakdown. You can go to our Facebook page, the Barbershop Breakdown Show. You can also friend us on Facebook by searching for Barbershop Breakdown. You can also go to us on Twitter at Barbershop B Down. And then you can email us barbershopbreakdown@gmail.com.